Welcome to another episode of My Indie Film in Focus. Today we got Addison Binek, the co-writer, co-editor, and director of Psycho 8.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Really dig what you're doing on YouTube and, obviously Psycho 8. So let's talk about how this all started. I've done a little bit of research on you and seen your YouTube page is about 13 years old.
Yeah, you dug deep.
Seen a couple skits that you were doing there. And the Addie and Andy, would you like to give us a little background on the Addie and Andy skits?
Well, Addie and Andy started in about 2009 when I moved into an apartment building with my high school best friend. And we always wanted to sort of get into filmmaking and stuff like that. We were really obsessed with The Office, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, shows like that. And we kind of just wanted to do our own sort of just homemade version of that. I was going to film school, and I had a mini DV camcorder, and he had a Mac with Final Cut Pro 7 on there. So we would film skits and stuff and just kind of edit stuff together and make an episode of Addie and Andy, and each episode had a different plot. And it kind of was structured in a way like a sitcom or an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, something like that. And we just did that for 2 years while we were living together. And my favorite one, if you've watched this one, was And Deception. And that was kind of like a culmination of everything that we had been doing, but we sort of took it to this cabin that we stayed in the middle of the woods in Barryton, Michigan. A very obscure place. It's 2.5 hours north. And there was nobody around, and we kind of wanted to do a horror spoof thing, Secret Window, but fun, a funny spoof of that. And that's what we did.
That's awesome, man.
And yeah, that was our final episode. And then we moved out of the apartment, but after that, we only did one more Addie and Andy, which was called Between a Rock and 24. And we were 24 years old, kind of just trying to find ourselves a little bit because we both had moved back home with our parents and stuff, ran out of money, couldn't afford rent anymore. So we wrote a dramatic kind of Addie and Andy that was a little bit more serious than the ones that we had been doing before that, but it was still funny though. But after that, we just didn't really make any more because we weren't living together, and it's really tough to write and film and edit something like that with your filmmaking partner when you don't live together anymore. Because when we used to live together, it was just going into each other's bedrooms, hey, I got an idea, or we were just hanging out watching TV or something, hey, just spitballing ideas and typing them into a laptop. So when you're not living together anymore, it becomes way more difficult.
It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated. So we haven't made any more of them.
They're pretty funny, so if you haven't watched them, you should go back and check them out.
Yeah, that's deep. That's a deep cut right there. I don't really promote those anymore just because that was something we made in our early 20s. So.
Right. Well, you've come a long way, and it's obvious. And this is how I found out about Tro Masterpiece Theater. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about Tro Masterpiece and movies to watch on a rainy afternoon.
Okay. Tro Masterpiece came from, I had been doing movies to watch on a rainy afternoon since 2011. I started that, and just because I really liked Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks.
Okay.
I wanted to make my own. But in 2011, YouTube wouldn't allow videos longer than 15 minutes long. So I had a time constriction. And so I would take sort of the best of the worst clips from cheesy B movies and sort of edit together a video riff view. And I made, I don't know, maybe 100 of those, something like that, maybe a smidge less. And I did one for the movie Rabid Grannies. And Troma on Twitter retweeted that episode.
Oh, that's really cool.
So I thought, yeah, that was pretty cool. Somebody at Troma noticed me. I didn't even tag them or anything, you know what I mean? So somebody at Troma just happened to see it. I wasn't drawing attention to it. But I contacted them and I was like, hey, if you liked that, could I do stuff and you guys put it on your Troma YouTube channel? They were also in the early stages of launching their streaming app, Troma Now.
Troma Now, yeah.
So I kind of wanted to get on the ground floor of that too. So I was like, can I make content for you guys? You don't have to pay me or anything. I just want to, I just want to make stuff for you. I love Troma. And they were like, well, contact Lloyd. Here's his email address. So I contacted him, asking, can I do like movie riffing stuff with Trauma for movies to watch on a rainy afternoon? I hadn't even thought of Masterpiece Theater yet. Because Rainy Afternoon is just like me doing skits and riffs from my living room and peppering those into clips of, crappy B movies. And he said, I'll be in town, because, I see that you're in Michigan. I'll be in town like next week for a horror convention, meet me at my table when I'm in town. So I waited in line, and when I got to him, I pitched him, like I was just waiting in line, and I was like, well, I could ask him if I could do movies to watch on a rainy afternoon for Trauma and Trauma Now, but if I can get my stuff on Trauma Now, I won't have any YouTube constrictions anymore, I can release like uncut content, I can release full-length riffs. So I should just pitch him the idea of like Mystery Science Theater meets Trauma and call it Masterpiece Theater and see what he does. So I just thought of that waiting in line, and he said yes. So he let me do his first film, The Battle of Love's Return, as sort of a pilot to see if it was funny enough to put on Trauma Now, if the Masterpiece Theater could be a series or something. And so for like 2 years I worked on that. And a buddy of mine had built these puppets, like Mystery Science Theater 3000, where I had a talking box of popcorn hand puppet and a talking film reel hand puppet. So we watched Battle of Love's Return about a dozen times and then filmed ourselves with the hand puppets and our scripts in our lap in front of a green screen, riffing on the Battle of Love's Return, which was not easy to do because that is a very difficult movie. I was told by Trauma people that if you, like as a joke, sort of a hazing, like if you get hired in like to Trauma, you have to watch that movie. Like it's just like a thing that you have to do.
Coming of age, huh?
Coming of age, like welcome to Trauma, you gotta watch Battle of Love's Return. And it's a very obscure movie, but it is Lloyd's first movie. So it almost was sort of, like it made sense for his first movie to be the movie that we used for our first episode. So it kind of just worked that way. And once I handed it in to him, he liked it. He put it on the Trauma channel. He put it on Trauma Now. And so we let it kind of just, exist for a little while before I hit him up for a second episode. And he let me do Poultrygeist, which is monumentally better than the Battle of Love's Return.
By far, yeah.
So now the new challenge was, how do we make something that's already very funny, funnier with riffs? Because I love Poultrygeist. I don't love Battle of Love's Return, so that was easier to sort of make fun of. But Poultrygeist was, a new challenge, plus the fact that it's a musical. How do you riff a musical? I've never riffed a musical before. And like Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks, they don't really riff musicals, so I didn't really have any sort of template to how do I do this?
Mm-hmm. You were cutting it down with a machete, basically making your own path.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like, well, maybe we don't necessarily riff the songs, or if we do, look out for gaps where they're not singing anymore and just throw in a riff. But it was tough. So we finished that, and while I was making episode 2 of Masterpiece Theater of Poultrygeist, I had come up with the idea for Psycho Ape, and my buddy Greg DeLiso had made the movie Hectic Knife, which was at the time being distributed by Trauma. It was like a fresh new release. So I had never made a feature film before. I'd done 10 years of riffing, and so I asked him if he would help me. Or at least I pitched it to him like, hey, you have more experience with filmmaking than I do. I just do riffing stuff, but I had this idea for a movie, Psycho Ape. Like, would you like to work on this? And so we co-wrote the film together and started shooting it. So in the year 2019, I was working on both Masterpiece Episode 2 and Psycho Ape kind of simultaneously. That was pretty nuts.
Well, we're going to take a small break. During the break, you're going to watch a trailer of Psycho Ape, and we'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the trailer of Psycho Ape. We're here with Addison Binek, the director, co-writer, and co-editor. And we left off, we were talking about Trauma Piece Theater, or Trauma Masterpiece, I'm sorry.
True master.
Trauma Masterpiece
People do
Theater,
flub it.
yeah.
It's
It's easy to do, yeah.
Yeah.
But Psycho Ape is why we're here today. See the DVD and VHS copies here. How hard was it to get funding for Psycho Ape? Was it a difficult problem, or?
It wasn't. Surprisingly easy, because I had just finished my Kickstarter for Masterpiece Theater Episode 2. We raised $7,500 over the course of like 30, 40 days for that. And we knew that like we could get Bill Whedon at a certain time and Kansas Bowling at a certain time. So we were kind of, rushed to be like, well, this is when they're available. Like Kansas was just coming off of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Bill was just ready to go. He was just rearing to shoot. We didn't want to put it off, too long. So we decided to launch the Psycho Ape Kickstarter not too long after I had already raked in $7,500 for a masterpiece. So for Psycho Ape, we were like, well, we only really want like a smidge amount of money anyway. Like, this is going to be a low budget movie. It's going to be shot on mini DV tape. So it's going to be lo-fi anyway. We don't need a whole bunch of money. So let's just lowball it. And we asked for $1,000 and got $7,000.
Wow.
So we still ended up kicking in like our own money and stuff just to pay for, our trip to New York and all that stuff, because that was really expensive. But mainly the money ended up just kind of going towards like that trip, and then like paying, our actors and putting them up in hotels and feeding them and stuff. But yeah, surprisingly easy to bring in money. We under-asked, and the Kickstarter overperformed,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a happy accident there.
No, it totally was. Because I didn't think that I'd be able to equal the same amount of money that I just got for Masterpiece, because I was like, well, that just ended, and it's not like I have even started shooting this yet. So people have no idea of like what it is that like I'm capable of doing with, large amounts of money for a budget. So just based on good faith, they were like, oh, we'll just donate again. So
That's awesome, man.
well, it was also because a lot of the people who had donated, they were fans from like my YouTube channel and stuff. So they had seen me grow as like a riffer, and over the years, they knew that I had like 100 episodes of movies to watch on a rainy afternoon. They had seen Masterpiece Episode 1, and they just liked the premise of Psycho Ape. And they had seen some of the footage that we had been making, and we were cutting teaser trailers and releasing those. Like, they had seen the teaser trailer for the girl who gets her leg cut off, with a banana. So they saw that, and they knew like, oh, we want more of this. And that's why they were just, donating just on faith, even though they had just donated for my other Kickstarter. So that was awesome. I had, 2 back-to-back Kickstarters raise $7,000. And
Kansas Bowling. If these people are not familiar, I'm let anybody know that's watching this. She's a writer, editor, director, actress. At this point, she has 53 acting credits and 34 directing credits. How the hell did she get in Psycho Ape?
She came from when I was doing movies to watch on a rainy afternoon in like 2017, and I was kind of getting in good with Trauma and Lloyd. He gave me a short list of movies that I could riff for rainy afternoon, like Terra Firma, Redneck Zombies, and BC Butcher was on that list.
Okay, yeah.
It was a new.
17?
Yeah, she was like 16, 17, 18 around that time. I think she made it when she was 16, but then by the time they put it out there, she was like 17 or 18. But he told me that I could use BC Butcher.
Nice.
So, I mean, obviously they own her movie, but I still sort of felt like, well, I feel like I should ask her permission anyway, just because it might rub her the wrong way or something. I sort of compare it to the way that like if Weird Al wants to like do a parody of a song, he always asks the artist permission.
That's right. That's awesome.
And he doesn't have to do that. Like legally he doesn't have to do that, but he does it anyway, just out of like just kindness and like, karma, faith, all that stuff. And if they say no, he doesn't do it. Like Prince has turned him down and stuff. But Nirvana, they thought it was an honor for him to
Right.
do a parody of their stuff. So I asked Kansas, and she had the same kind of reaction, like, "Oh yeah, do it. That sounds great." And she sent me a copy of her movie in the mail. So that was 2017, and cut to like 2019, I hit her up again, and I was like, "Hey, we're doing this movie, Psycho Ape." Initially, she was only supposed to be in the opening Slumber Party Massacre scene.
Okay.
And get killed off with her, girlfriends at a slumber party massacre. But she said that she liked the idea so much, and she liked Hectic Knife, Greg DeLiso's movie,
Okay.
that she wanted to be a part of the whole project.
Oh, that's super cool.
So she wanted to work with Greg. She liked Hectic Knife, and her and I had a familiarity with me riffing on BC Butcher. She liked that episode. So it was just all around a win. She knew that she could trust that we would make a funny movie. And so we took her role and we sort of made her kind of like Laurie Strode sort of.
Nancy Banana, right?
Yeah, we made her Nancy Banana, but she's supposed to sort of be like the Laurie Strode of like our Psycho Ape movie.
Okay.
Because Psycho Ape, the basic skeletal structure is Halloween. You got Dr. Zoomis in there, who's supposed to be Dr. Loomis. And instead of being a psychiatrist, he's a zookeeper. So that was like the initial basic idea. We didn't have like a Laurie Strode character at first. Honestly, we were just gonna do like a Zoomis and ape sort of like chase, like that was gonna be the movie. But when she said that she wanted to be in the whole thing, that's when we expanded her character and gave her stuff to do.
Nice.
So that was just like a happy accident where she had just sort of finished Quentin Tarantino's movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she was available. So in the couple months in between, like us contacting her in 2019 about shooting Psycho Ape, and like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood actually like being released, like it was like, we got to get it in there because once Hollywood hits, she might be unobtainable.
Right.
So we gotta shoot this now.
So we're gonna take a small break. We're gonna show another teaser trailer from Psycho Ape, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Bill Whedon.
Prepare yourself for the most intensely bananas motion picture of our time, Psycho Ape. Primate movies have come and gone. This is also a movie. Psycho Ape, a bloodthirsty banana butcher with revenge in his veins, stabbing his way into your heart. Can anyone escape the slaughter of Psycho Ape, the motion picture some people are talking about? With a budget of pocket lint and a cast of verbal commitments, Psycho Ape will leave you breathless. Literally. Psycho Ape. Coming soon.
Welcome back to My Indie Film in Focus. I'm here with Addison Binek. We're talking about Psycho Ape, and we left off talking about Bill Whedon. How did Bill Whedon get involved?
Bill Whedon got involved with Psycho Ape because in about April or May of 2019, I went out to a screening of Tremasterpiece Theater Episode 1 and Sergeant Kabuki Man in New York.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I have a friend out there who put together this double feature. He booked Sergeant Kabuki Man from Troma and booked Tremasterpiece Theater from me. So he was putting on this double feature, and I was invited, and Bill was invited. So I went out there and met Bill for the first time at this double feature. My film was first. Was that first? I don't remember now. But it was really funny because he, being a Troma actor, he knew what to expect from like a Troma film. But Battle of Love's Return is, it's Lloyd's first movie, and it's not a good movie. And Lloyd is the first one to admit that this movie sucks. So Bill, I would notice, would kind of get up out of the theater, go in the lobby, and come back. So after the show, I asked him, like, did you like your Masterpiece Theater? Like, I saw you like leave a bunch of times. And he was like, oh no, the jokes were hilarious. I just couldn't sit through that movie. That was awful. Lloyd should be embarrassed. And I was just like, that's pretty funny. So we hit it off really well at this double feature. And afterwards, I mean, we were hanging out in our hotel lobby at like 3 a.m. eating like cheesesteaks that we had ordered, delivery, and just, had a great time. So he asked me, do you have anything else that you're working on? And I pitched to him, well, we were about to launch a Kickstarter for Psycho Ape.
Cool.
And we had already knew that we wanted the ending to take place in New York, have a big King Kong ending. We already knew that. And he said that, well, when you guys come to New York for your King Kong ending, hit me up and I'll be an extra. And so when I came home, I told my buddy Greg, who I was making Psycho Ape with, hey, we could get Bill Whedon in a cameo. And he was like, cameo? Let's just give him Zoomis. And I was like, oh,
yeah, great idea.
So that was kind of his idea. And so I called up Bill because he gave me his phone number. And we were like, hey, man, we got a role for you. Do you want to be our Dr. Loomis in our Psycho Ape film? And immediately, yes.
Nice.
So it was because of that double feature screening that, I got to meet Bill and I got to offer him the role. And what was great about Bill was that, we sent him like a 4-page outline, like maybe it was a little bit longer, but there wasn't a whole lot there quite yet. But he latched onto it, he loved it, and even while we were filming, he improvised a lot of his own lines and a lot of his own stuff. Like the day before we filmed his opening scene, he's got that rap song in his opening scene. He wrote that the day before.
Oh, get out of town.
He wrote, yeah. He knew that we would be filming the next morning, and it was going to be like during this like slumber party, like post slumber party massacre scene. So he had spent the evening in his hotel room. He wrote that rap himself. He brought it to set the next day, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this. You can either use it or don't. I won't be offended." So we used it because it was great. That was one take.
All in one take. Oh, heck yeah, that's awesome too. It's a good part of the movie. It's very funny.
That was him. Yeah, he brought that to the table.
All awesome. Bill, good job.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how do we get people to watch the movie, man? How can these viewers that aren't familiar with you, how can they get a hold of a copy of Psycho Ape?
It's available on eBay. I sell copies, so I can sign copies and stuff. They all come from me. It's also available on Amazon Prime. If you're not a physical media collector, you can hit up Amazon Prime and rent it for like $1.99. There's also other like online retailers who I've sold copies to, like Grindhouse Video, Diabolic DVD. There's one other one. Nightmare Toys. They're in Las Vegas, so they've got copies over there in Vegas.
Nice.
But if you go on eBay, that's from me. And we also have other merchandise that you can get, like a Psycho Ape shirt. It's Fast Custom T-shirts, or Fast Custom Tees. They are like a distributor that I hooked up with, and they print these, and they mail them out to you and stuff.
Nice.
And they offer different colors too. There's like a gold, there's gray, and those all get shipped out from like Texas, which is awesome, Because I'm good at like, I've got VHS tapes on eBay too. I'm good with that merchandise, but like T-shirts and stuff, it's kind of, I don't know.
Right.
I'm
outside the wheelhouse.
It was just outside of what I'm, comfortable or what I'm accustomed to selling, you know what I mean? So I've got, this merchandise, the VHS and the DVD, I sell that, but you can order the T-shirts through a separate distributor. And I've got other stuff too on eBay, DVD compilations of movies to watch on a rainy afternoon.
Oh, nice.
But mostly that stuff is on YouTube for free, along with, we've got trading cards coming out soon.
Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah, last year.
Psycho Ape trading cards.
Psycho Ape trading cards, yeah. They're going to be limited, but there was a guy last year who hit me up because he wanted to run a Kickstarter. He wanted to license images from Psycho Ape. So you're going to get trading cards with images, screenshots from the movie, and like a little bit of tidbits and stuff about the scene, like on the back of the card. And I think like there're going to be certain special edition box set trading cards that come with like articles of clothing from costumes and stuff that he cut off and
put them on the card. Okay, wow, that's too cool.
Yeah, so I haven't received mine yet. I've seen other people on Facebook who pre-ordered their trading cards. They've gotten theirs. So I've seen what they look like, and they look awesome. But he's going to be sending me a whole bunch so that I can sell those on eBay and stuff and take them to conventions. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because I've never had anything, none of my work.
Trading card, dude.
I've never had, my work transformed into trading cards. So that'll be really cool. Otherwise, I would have brought those with me too.
Right. So you get over to eBay and
That's
buy
where
a
all,
couple
where all
copies.
the Psycho Ape stuff is, and YouTube, where you can see, there's other Psycho Ape trailers, clips, and all my movies to watch on a rainy afternoon stuff. And True Masterpiece Theater is on there as well.
So what's next? What are you doing next?
Next, I am going to be doing a movie called The Cult of Frankenstein. It's going to be another like homage to like 70s schlocky horror films done in the vein of sort of like someone like Al Adamson who did like Dracula versus Frankenstein, really like low budget stuff, where the first half of the movie is going to be about this cult, probably about like a dozen people who they go out to like a farmland and they're trying to make their own Frankenstein monster because they worship the original Dr. Frankenstein as like a deity, and they want to like make their own. So it's kind of like Wicker Man or like Midsommar, where meets Frankenstein.
Folk horror film.
Kind of, yeah. But like Michigan-based folk horror,
Right,
Midwest horror.
Right.
So they're making their own Frankenstein monster, and it comes to life. And meanwhile, I have Bill Whedon playing a like great grand descendant of the original Dr. Frankenstein. He's making his own army of Frankenstein monsters. And what he's doing is pitting these creations against each other for money. He's charging them for like UFC fights and stuff like that, like out in his backyard. So he's sort of sullying the good Frankenstein name for profit. This isn't like the original Dr. Frankenstein who wants to create life, and become a good scientist. This great grand descendant is doing it for profit, for
Trying to
money.
make money.
Yeah. So he's using his skills, poorly. And the through line of the movie is that you have the cult's Frankenstein monster is going to meet up with Bill Whedon's Frankenstein monsters, and it's going to be like a War of the Gargantuas, Godzilla style.
Oh, that's cool.
It's going to be big climax with a ton of Frankenstein monsters just fighting and beating the hell out of each other and tearing off limbs, just all kinds of crazy stuff. So the first half of the movie is kind of like Wicker Man, Midsommar with Frankenstein stuff in it, and the second half is like full on like monster B-movie mayhem.
Sounds great.
Two distinct halves, kind of like I'm modeling it sort of after like the original Psycho or like Death Proof or something like that.
So
Where you have
halfway through the movie, it's a
totally different movie.
That sounds awesome. So you guys should check that out. Keep an eye on Addison. Check out his YouTube channel. Go to eBay and get you a copy of Psycho Ape. And thanks for watching another episode of My Indie Film in Focus.